Hey everyone, this is Nick here, back with another drawing lesson. Today I'm going to show you how to create this drawing using just a pencil and an eraser. So let's begin. I'm going to hold the pencil the sketchy way. So hold your pencil like this. And what this is going to force you to do is it's going to force you to draw more with your shoulder and more with your elbow. It's going to kind of free you up a little bit. Try drawing by holding your pencil this way. And what you might find is that this is going to help you draw nice and loose, which is where we want to start. When we do our sketching, when we do our drawing, we want to start by being loose and not doing this really tight grip like you're writing a letter to your pen pal, which no one does. But I think you understand that when you hold the pencil this way, it lends itself to a very controlled type of grip. And that's often where we don't want to start. So you plop the pencil or whatever you're drawing with in your hand, put your index finger on the top of the pencil, and then just turn the thing over like this. Okay? In your hand, turn it over. Now, let's make a rectangle. The reason we do this is to get ourselves set up with what's called the layout or the orientation of the page. So we're drawing a tall rectangle, and that's going to be the format of our drawing. So the drawing is going to be in the tall portrait format. I'm going to go around the page several times to kind of get loosened up, and I want you to do the same thing. And I want you to do this in one continuous motion instead of this. I'm being dramatic, but I think you get the idea. I'm going to go like this and make a bunch of little lines. And yeah. No, let's not do that. Let's take the pencil the sketchy way, and I want you to go around in one continuous motion. That's going to force you to loosen up. Okay? Let's loosen up. Drawing is supposed to be fun. That's what I tell myself right before I throw my sketchbook across the room. That drawing is supposed to be fun, and that's why I do it. So we're going to go around the page like this. If you have to go around 100 times, I don't care. Just do this. In one continuous motion. Clockwise, let's go counterclockwise. Okay, let's get a nice big rectangle on there with about a 1-inch border or so. All right. We're loosened up. Our format is set up. Now, what I want you to do, with that same loose pencil grip, I want you to, in one continuous motion, just like we did here, in one continuous motion, I want you to draw an S shape that bends about 7 or 8 times. So we're going to start at the top of the page, and we're going to draw a curve, sort of like an S, that bends about 7 or 8 times in one continuous motion. Don't think about it too much. Just allow that to happen. Just create this curve in one continuous fluid motion, not like this. One continuous motion. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I got 6.5 sort of loops here, which is close enough to 7 for me. Now, the next step is to emulate that same curve that same motion, but I want you to start about an inch or a half of an inch below where you started from before. And when you repeat this, we're going to cross over where these lines at the end of the line, so to speak, or at the edge of the bend. So I'm going to kind of go like this, and I'm going to cross over these points here. So start about an inch or half an inch or so below where you started. Same type of motion. Cross over the edge of those lines. So now you have something like this. Okay? And if you've managed to do that successfully, congratulations. If you manage to break away from this really stiff grip and this bad habit that artists or young artists get into, or people who just have a tendency to start off stiff, stop doing this immediately and hold the pencil the sketchy way and go in one continuous motion. It takes time to break that habit, and a lot of people start off that way. So if you are starting off that way, it's totally normal, and we need to break away from it. Okay, now we're going to connect the ends with a straight line. This goes right off the page, so I'm not going to worry about that. I want you to connect the ends of the curves like this. So we're going to draw a line that sort of connects the outer edge of those curves like so. We have to do a little bit of work with an eraser. And I want you to erase just one of these lines that is in the X. So I'm just going to erase one of these lines, the top part here. Do that. Okay, so erase the top part of the end here. Let's erase the top part here. Do that for each part of this assignment here. I'm going to erase the top. What we're going to do is essentially create what's called a value scale, which is a transition from light to dark. I'm going to demonstrate what that is up here at the top of the page. So I'm just going to make a little rectangle. And you can practice this right on your page. We're going to shade from, we'll go from light to dark. Lightest value here is going to be no value. It's just going to be blank paper. And then we're going to shade to the darkest value over here. Having one of these blenders is also nice to have because that'll smooth the transition out here. But let's just take our pencil, let's hold the pencil the sketchy way, and let's just get some values onto this little scale here. So light, and I'm just kind of making those, I'm doing some hatching here. Light to dark, so I'm pressing down harder as I get towards the other end. So I'm trying to create a nice transition from light to dark, and that's going to take a minute. But I know at the end here I'm going to need some darker values, so I'm going to push down basically as hard as I can with this pencil to get the darkest value here. So get a nice dark value going. A lot of my students, they don't push down hard on the page, and something I don't do. I didn't do early on in my career as an artist, but you got to really dig into that page. I want you to push down hard. Take some of that work week frustration out on your sketchbook here. So there we go. You can see now the transition starting to happen from light to dark. If you got one of these, you can smooth it out. Now what happens is now it looks like it's all blending together, and it's not what we want. So I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to pull in those lighter values at the beginning here. Maybe use my eraser to sort of smooth this out. There we go. Now it's starting to look a little bit better. But the most important thing is that you have opposites. The lightest here, pure paper. The darkest is as dark as you can get this area with your pencil. All right, you can do some hatching, you do some cross hatching. Just get this as dark as you can and try to smooth it out. So what we're going to do is take this value scale and we're going to employ the value scale to the ribbon in the same fashion as you see here to start, meaning we're going to use lights to darks this way, and then we're going to flip that around and we're going to go dark to light. So dark to light, dark to light. And that's the pattern that is going to be carried out for this assignment, okay? So grab a pencil. You can start off with the darkest values or the lightest values, whatever you prefer. I'm going to start off with the lightest values. Very, very lightly. Just going to start to hatch in some pencil. At about the halfway point, right, we want a middle tone, so a little bit darker there. And then once we get towards the right side, we're going to push down harder and really dig in. So we have a range of values, which is really what we want to strive for when we do this drawing, or any drawing really. Having a range of lights and darks will make it appealing. There'll be contrast. And our brains like contrast because it makes things easy for us to understand. Easier if we have an appropriate range of contrast. Our brains like that. Okay, so probably could go a little bit lighter on this side. So let's take that eraser. And let's just make sure we have a range of values, right? You can blend with the eraser too. Or you can use one of these blending stumps. Wait, oh, yes, okay, this is a blending stump, sorry. I live in Rhode Island, and yeah, you see a lot of this stuff on the streets. But this is a blending stump. It's not what it looks like. So let's blend that together there. Let's see what magic can happen. All right, I'm pretty happy with this value scale. Now we're gonna flip it around, darks here to light, and that's gonna be nice because it's gonna give us a nice contrast at the end. So we're gonna take our pencil, we're gonna dig in. Don't be afraid to push down nice and hard. And then we're just going to kind of lighten that up as we go. And when you practice this, it gets a lot easier. Just like anything else you practice, it gets easier and better. So if you're with me today, thanks for joining me and taking what could be the first step in your artistic journey, or maybe you're just kind of watching. It's totally fine. You know, when I teach my classes, a lot of students will just be watching me and not drawing. And I'm actually okay with that. No, I'm just kidding. I like when they need to be drawing with me, but sometimes they're just watching me draw. And I like watching people draw because it puts me in the chill zone. You know, that's why people like this stuff. Kind of helps them relax. All right, so it's looking pretty good. Think y'all are getting the idea. Now, dark to light. If you're an art teacher out there, you can borrow this from me. I don't know where I got it from, but feel free to borrow it. All right, so let's dig in here. We're getting warmed up. The flow state is happening. I hope for you. I'm getting there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's grab our blender. Smudge that. Yep. Still a blender. It's looking good. At the end, we can clean this up. So if you're not happy with how, if it looks sort of rough, mine looks a little bit, unrefined at this stage, but I'm going to go back and clean up these edges. And that's going to be the finishing touch. All right, let's continue on. Continuing on. So let's take a pencil, and what we're going to do, one of the last steps to kind of clean this up, is on the bottom edge. The bottom edge. I want you to just give me a nice solid line on the bottom edge only, not on the top. The reason being is because if you do this on both sides, it looks a little bit static. But if you do it on one side, it's just a little bit more interesting. So on the bottom edge, let's grab that pencil and let's get a nice strong line at the bottom. There we go. And if you need to, you can turn your sketchbook this way if that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to do that. one continuous motion, which might be hard for some of us to do. Totally understand, but do your best to do this next step in one continuous motion. That'll improve your confidence. And that is a little bit more pleasing. Where these areas sort of touch over here, let's take that eraser and I want you to lighten that up a little bit. I don't want there to be a hard outline sort of on the end there. It's a little distracting. So let's just lighten that up a little bit. Pretty cool, right? Just for a very basic exercise with value. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Practice it. Practice creating a range of values. Practice your craftsmanship by doing this in one continuous motion. Do this a couple times if you need to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this drawing, and I have loads more. Have a great day, and keep drawing.